What's up everyone, I'm Failure7x, and as you may or may not know, as you should know, the Resident Evil 2 Remake is coming out this week, in a few days actually, which coincidentally is the same week that my college classes started back up, but hey, I'm not saying don't go to school, but you should subscribe to the channel so that I can drop out of college. But anyway, the Resident Evil 2 Remake comes out this week, and in celebration of, I'm going to be giving you my top 5 best Resident Evil games out of the franchise, out of the series, whatever you would call it. And now, as you'll probably notice going on here, where am I going? Fuck it. That's the new puppy. Her name is Ada. Get it? Resident Evil? Yeah, because, you know, if you've been around my channel, you know that my first dog, her name is Claire, obviously from Resident Evil, and this is Ada because she's also a female, and right now she's eating her aunt. Hey! What are you doing? Yeah. That's a thing. But anyway, yeah, top 5 best Resident Evil games. I was considering doing a top 10, but I feel like that would be like too easy since there's not really that many like Resident Evil games to begin with. And I was thinking about doing a top 7 just to be ironic because, you know, oh, Failure7x. But who am I kidding? Nobody watches this shit anyways, and top 5 is way more searched than top 7. But I'm just rambling at this point, so let's just get started.
Resident Evil 4.
For number 5, I have Resident Evil 4, and I know what you're thinking. You're like, what? This isn't number 1? No, to me it's not. Don't get me wrong, Resident Evil 4 is a great game, but in that, it also had its negatives. The main one being the jump to a more action-oriented game instead of a survival horror game like the originals. To be fair though, Resident Evil 4 felt like a perfect balance between the two, or at least as close to that as you could get. However, the scale still tipped more towards the action genre, and that is why I ranked this as my number 5. Also because...
Ashley! Where are ya?
For number 4, we have Resident Evil 7. After Resident Evil 4 spawned the shit show of cringeworthy action-based games, Resident Evil 7 was essentially the saving grace. It pulled the franchise back into a more survival horror genre that was very refreshing, and at the same time, not only did it throw away the Hollywood bullshit, but it also presented itself in a first-person point of view, similar to the PT demo or what would have been Silent Hills, and this perspective added another level of fear as the one couldn't rely on over-the-shoulder or even wonky fixed camera angles to see their surroundings. However, for whatever reason, Resident Evil 7 just fell kind of short on the replay value. I'm not saying I wanted to play the game a million times and not get tired of it, but trying to play Resident Evil 7 even a second time to clean up the achievements was just kind of boring.
I've been bad. I deserve this.
Resident Evil.
For number 3, I have Resident Evil Revelations 2, and to be honest, this one kind of contradicts some of what I just said in regard to the whole action genre ruining the franchise, but for whatever reason, Revelations 2 was just a ton of fun for me. The controls were decent, at least as far as a Resident Evil game goes, and the story was interesting with how it jumped not only back and forth between characters, but also between essentially timelines, and it never really got stale with multiple playthroughs. I had no problem running back to complete the game several times to get all the achievements, and as a matter of fact, I actually had a lot of fun doing it. Some parts were obviously a pain in the ass, but for what it's worth, I even intend on going back to replay it several more times just to get all the achievements again.
You can't have her, she Wesker!
For number 2, we have Resident Evil Outbreak File number 2. Now, the problem with this game was that it was way far ahead of its time, and sadly enough, because of this, never really got the praise it deserved. Outbreak File number 2 was an online multiplayer adaptation of the old school Resident Evil games that unfortunately came out just before online multiplayer blew up. And I was able to find a site that let you download an emulator of the game and even ran their own servers so that you could play online with friends. But at this point, the standard for online multiplayer has completely changed, and as much as I tried to look past that, it's just kind of too late. Don't get me wrong, playing Outbreak and Outbreak File number 2 online was definitely fun, especially playing with friends of mine who have never even played the original Outbreak games. But again, this game is basically 2 console generations old. If this game ever saw an official remake or even a remaster, I'm positive that people will be able to appreciate the game for how good it really was. And also I chose Outbreak File number 2 over the first one because File 2 had just more to it.
I remember thinking that it couldn't get any worse.
Resident Evil 2.
And for number 1, I have Resident Evil 2. Technically the original, but most likely the remake. And contrary to what you might think, no, I'm not placing this as number 1 because I'm dick riding that the Resident Evil 2 remake is coming out. Well, let me correct that. I am dick riding it because the Resident Evil 2 remake, but not just because I'm hopping on a hype bandwagon, but because Resident Evil 2 is my all-time favorite game. Now, as a disclaimer, before anyone tries calling me out, I haven't really sat down and played the game in like 20 years, so no, I'm not an aficionado when it comes to Resident Evil 2. I have no problem admitting that, but facts are facts, and I couldn't tell you how much time I spent as a child playing this game. And honestly, I don't even know if I ever beat the game, but I do remember being like 5 years old and being completely absorbed by this game for what felt like days on end. No game has ever had the same effect on me, and that's why I consider Resident Evil 2 not only my number 1 Resident Evil game of all time, but also my number 1 video game, period. This also adds even more hype about the remake because now I'll be able to fully understand what the hell's going on, whereas before I barely even knew how to wipe my own ass.
Who are you? Oh, you must be the new guy.
But yeah, that's my top 5 best Resident Evil games. Let me know in the comments what your top 5 are, or whether or not you're hyped for the remake, or anything else Resident Evil related. I'd love to have a discussion about it. But yeah, if you're new here or haven't yet already, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and drop a like if you enjoyed the video. Also, if you care to watch me live stream, my Twitch link will be in the description below. I normally play at like 8 p.m. Eastern time, which is a shitty time to play, but link will be down below if you're even remotely interested. But that's going to be it for this video. I hope to see you again, and thanks for watching.
Sorry, but it looks like your party has been canceled.